For years, Batman has used the darkness as a weapon, a tool in order to confront the forces of evil, but now a new enemy is turning that darkness against him. Batman issue number 119 begins its message right off the bat. Pun intended. With Bruce telling Alfred in a flashback about his plan to become Batman. Essentially, this scene is used to convey the fact that Batman is a guy who uses darkness to his benefit in order to fight the underworld, theatricality, and deception. However, what's interesting is when Alfred says that evil just doesn't hide in darkness, it can also hide within the light, to which the comic immediately switches over to the now, with Lex in his white suit confronting Batman in the darkened area of the crime scene. This scene is fantastic, and it really highlights on how Batman, though terrifying and insanely brutal, despite all of that, Batman's a good guy. He isn't total darkness, for Batman is a light to shine within darkness, whereas Williamson utilizes Luthor as a fraud, someone who falsely represents the light. And with all that said, I'm extremely impressed with the way that Williamson is handling this comparison. Sure, Batman isn't rich at the moment, but whenever we do think of Batman like we often do every hour, he's Bruce Wayne, billionaire playboy, Prince of Gotham. Yet he is not the same as Lex, who's also extremely rich as fuck. Now, another thing I extremely like is the Abyss dynamic. The fact that Abyss, whatever the hell this thing is the embodiment of sinister darkness. Similar to Batman, this thing uses darkness to its advantage, but through more of an evil manner, whereas Batman uses darkness for good. Now, when it comes to the book's art, it can at times feel jarring because there are two different artists working on the book. And so at times it can look weird where Lex is looking one way, but in the very next scene, the dude looks completely different with a pinch of Mark Strong. But the story, however, does work. And so it's pretty easy to ignore that. But yeah, it can be jarring. However, the colors by John Rauch are fantastic. I love the blue cowl with the shades of black etching across. It's absolutely wonderful, and it feels fresh. Overall, Joshua Williamson's Batman continues to be intriguing, with it also becoming quite mysterious. I'm not saying that it's exactly like it, I am somewhat getting those Court of Owl vibes, which is never a terrible thing to have when one is reading Batman. So yeah, I'm definitely hyped for more Batman Abyss. Batman issue number 119 gets a 9 out of 10. And so, our story picks up with a flashback, a conversation between Bruce and Alfred, where Bruce is telling his trusty butler about his plan to become Batman, because criminals are superstitious and a cowardly lot, and by using his fear of bats mixed with the powers of darkness, it will help in Bruce's quest within saving Gotham, helping Batman to save his city. But Alfred gives his sense, sort of like a warning to Bruce that, yeah, sure, you'll definitely find enemies amongst the darkness, but don't discount the fact that enemies will also hide within the light. And that's what takes us to the present, where the last issue left off at the crime scene, with Batman and Batman Incorporated's new owner, Lex Luthor, who's all decked out in his flashy white suit. And it's here where Lex tells Detective Kaio that him and Batman are old friends, and that their relationship throughout the years has aged like fine wine. But obviously Batman doesn't see it that way because, let's be honest, Lex Luthor is a terrible person. Now Lex assures our hero that he is indeed the man who is financing Batman's international experiment. For Lex stepped up since Bruce is, now poor. And now Lex is providing the funds in order to bring justice to more than just one city. And Lex admits that he's heard whispers floating about within his circles about the villainous Abyss, the deadly assassin who uses darkness to terrorize Bendishna. Suddenly, the police show up, seemingly on the orders of Lex Luthor, and they immediately begin to open fire at the Dark Knight. But of course, Batman uses darkness in order to evade capture and to kick the crap out of the cops. Also, Batman, being a badass and all, was able to preserve the crime scene, and he was also able to write a little message telling everyone they'll see them soon. Now, I'm sure we're all asking the question, how was Batman able to do that, while also being able to draw a perfectly shaped bat symbol? Well, the answer is, fuck you. And don't ask questions because Batman. Anyways, later on, we switch scenes to an incredibly fancy building, fancy pool, fancy lights, with an immaculate view, all owned by Lex Luthor. And it's here where Bruce Wayne shows up to have dinner with Lex. Now Lex is holding up this bottle of wine. However, this isn't just some basic bottle of wine. This wine is from Nadari, and it's said that only a single crate of this stuff remains within the world. And according to Lex, he tells Bruce that the bottle's value is that of $20 million, and just a tiny drop of its legendary flavor is worth more than what most people make in a year. And apparently the people at first refused to sell it to Lex. But of course, what this scene manages to highlight is the fact that everyone has a price in this world, even people like Bruce Wayne. And Lex Luthor is willing to pay said price. Because for Lex, he's well aware that Bruce Wayne is poor, but more importantly, he's Batman. So basically Lex is offering him a job, while also at the same time acting like an insanely pretentious douchebag. Because that's Lex Luthor, and that's what he does best. Also, he murders a lot, but I digress. And so after Bruce has a freak out moment with Lex, Lex tries to, assure that though I did some terrible things during Scott Snyder's Justice League, don't worry, Batman, I'm cool. And to prove it, I'll tell you where the cops have Abyss's body, because within the next few hours or so, they're gonna move it into my private security lab. So yeah, get going, detective. Do what you do best. That way you can properly prove whether or not Batman Inc. is innocent. And that's what takes us to the police station where the cops have Abyss's body. And it's here where we see Bruce suited up as Batman. And hot damn on a stick, the Dark Knight looks dope as hell. Now down in the station, Detective Kea is having a disagreement with her fellow cops. Because for her, she feels that Baldy, aka Lex, is way too close to the case, and that they should instead let the DEO or somebody else to do the autopsy. But the cops are like, well, guess what? Luthor donated a butt ton of money to our station and to the city, so yeah, he's gonna get to do whatever he wants to do. Also emphasizing the point home that Lex is a man with a vast amount of wealth, and that with it, he can control anyone. But once everyone turns around, they notice the body is missing, and so the cops put the entire station to red alert. And with people running in every single direction, Batman manages to radio over to the detective, telling her not to worry and, just do me a favor and buy some time so I can properly examine the body. And though she's like, okay, but, how did you get this number? She's like, whatever, it's Batman. It's to be expected. And from there, she tells everyone to go to the roof. Meanwhile, we pick up with Batman in a different room. And as he's about to examine the body, he finds out that the body is a decoy, and that this body is not the Abyss, because the Abyss was said to have died 2 days ago. And judging from the corpse in front of him, Batman estimates that this body has been dead for months. And he notes that the body, the cause of the death, was a bullet to the head, a bullet from a 9mm, a caliber that no one from Batman Inc. uses. Then suddenly the body coughs up some black, like symbiote liquid of sorts, the same substance from the crime scene. And from there, the entire room shuts down into complete darkness. But of course, this isn't a problem for Batman, because darkness is what he's all about. Darkness is his ally, but it's also Abyss's. And from there, the villain reveals that he is not dead, and the two fight within the darkness. And can I just say that the art here and just the entire atmosphere is incredible, terrifying, and completely badass. But unfortunately for Batman, Abyss is a creature of the darkness, for he was born in the shadows, and that the voices in the dark are his sole master. And using a Grim Reaper-esque weapon, the dude slices Batman across the stomach. And from there, the lights turn back on, with Abyss nowhere to be found. Now Detective Kea rushes in to make sure Batman is okay. And though Batman is fine, like not dying fine, it turns out that whatever Abyss sliced him with, it's caused Batman to go blind, for it's way too dark for our hero to see. And that, folks, was the end of Batman, issue number 119. And thank you guys for checking out my video. It truly means the world to me. And as always, I am majestic sayer of words SuperCliff, and if you guys are new to the channel, then do me a solid by smashing that like and subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll never miss out on an upload, and so that you'll always be kept up to date with your favorite top tier comics happening in the comic book world. Now tell me, what are your thoughts and opinions on this issue? Are you guys excited for issue 120? And how are you guys liking the Abyss story thus far? Let me know down in the comment section below. And until the next video, peace.